Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ascar, and if you are new here, please subscribe and click the notification bell. So in today's tutorial, you're going to learn how to crochet this crochet mesh skirt. It's made up of mesh stitches, and we have a tutorial for the matching top. So I'm going to leave a link to that at the description box below, or you can go and check my previous tutorial. And in this tutorial, you're going to make a medium size, but I'm going to guide you on how to make a small or a large size. Okay, so let's get to it. These are the materials you're going to need. You'll need a pair of scissors, a 3.5mm crochet hook, a darning needle, and a small needle. You're going to use this to attach our lining, a tape measure, and yarn. So for the yarn, I'm going to use this robin. This is a Kenyan brand. It's an acrylic yarn and it's a lightweight yarn. So you're going to double our strand, but I would recommend use any other medium weight yarn, single strand. And also you're going to need an elastic band. So if you don't have an elastic band, you're going to substitute it with a string made of chains only, so that you can use it to fasten your waistline. Okay, and also you're going to need a lining. So this lining I already made it to look like a skirt. So the only thing remaining is just to attach it. Okay, so now let us start. So before we begin, let's talk about the measurements. So this one I was making hip measurements of 40 and full height of 35 inches. So waist measurements is not really very important here. So you're going to begin by making chains, which is way over the height that you want. So I wanted 35 inches, but I'm going to make chains that will go up to 50 inches because this thing stretches a lot and it also contracts a lot. So you can see from here, you see how it can stretch. It stretches a lot. Also this way. Okay, so let us start. So you're going to start by making a knot. So that is how I make my knot. And now you're going to make chains that will go over by over 10 inches the height that you want. So I'm just going to make those chains and you're going to measure later. So the amount of chains that you make for the foundation chains doesn't really matter. You're going to take the measurements on our first row, and the chains that will remain at this end, you're just going to undo them. Okay, so go ahead and make your chains and you're going to meet after that. I'm done making the amount of chains that I needed, so let's go ahead and measure this. Remember that I am working with a height of 35 inches, so this should go past the 35 inches. So I'm just going to measure it, and I'm not going to stretch my work. You see? It measures 45 inches, so this is okay. So the right measurements will be seen from like the second or the third row. Okay, so now let us start on our first row. Now you're going to go to the fifth chain from the hook. So 1 2 3 4, into the fifth one insert your hook, pull up a loop. Now you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2, chain 3, 1 2 3, skip 2 chains, 1 2, on the third one make a single crochet, chain 3, skip 2 chains, on the third one make a single crochet, chain 3. So you're going to keep doing that until you get to almost the end, and you're going to take the measurements. I'm almost getting to the end of this first row, so you can work up to the end, but you need to measure it first before we continue. So let's go ahead and measure this. And when you take your measurements, do not stretch your work, just lay it flat. This one goes up to 38 inches, and remember we wanted 35, so I'm going to undo it up to 36 inches. Okay, so this was 38, so I'm going to undo it up to 36 inches. I'm going to give it 1 more inch, but it's going to narrow down even more as you continue. Okay, so take your measurements. If you're working with a 40 inch, you're going to start with, let's say, 50 chains, and after your first row you're going to take the measurements and undo the extra up to 41 inch. Okay, if you're working with, let's say, 45, just repeat the same thing, make 55 chains, and then you're going to undo the first row up to 46 inch. And when you take the measurements, make sure not to stretch it even a little bit, just lay it flat and take your measurements. Okay, so now let's go to the second row. So these extra chains, I'm just going to undo them later. So you're going to go to the next row, start by chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn your work, and you're going to insert your hook into the first chain 3 space, or the first loop. Insert your hook and make a single crochet. So you're going to chain 3, go to the next loop with a single crochet, chain 3, go to the next loop with a single crochet, chain 3, and repeat the same pattern until the end of the row, and you're going to meet at the end. I'm almost at the end of the row, and I have one last loop here. So I've chained my 3 chains, and I'm going to insert my hook into the last loop that way. Now let's go to the third row. You're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn your work, and into the first chain 3 space you're going to insert your hook and make a single crochet. Chain 3, go to the next loop with a single crochet, chain 3, go to the next loop, chain 3, go to the next loop with a single crochet, chain 3, go to the next loop with a single crochet, and keep repeating the same pattern, and you're going to meet at the end of the row. I've gotten to the end of my third row. Now you're going to go to the fourth row, and you're going to repeat what we did on the third row. So you're going to start by chaining 4, turn your work, and into the first chain 3 space make your single crochet, chain 3, go to the next one with a single crochet, and just repeat the same thing until you get to the end of the row. And you're going to keep repeating what we did on the third row until you have the size that you want. So I'm working with a hip measurements of 40 inches, but now you need to keep in mind that this work stretches a lot. Okay, so you're going to give allowance for the stretching. So in every 10 inches you're going to give 3 inch allowance. So I'm working with a 40 inch, so that means in every 10 I give 3, so 3 times 4. So that means I'm going to give 12 inch allowance. So I'm going to work until I have 28 inches in length without stretching. Okay, the stretching part will be covered by the 12 inch that you're going to leave for the allowance. So let's say if you're working with a hip measurement of 45 inches, you're going to give like 13 or 14 inch allowance. Okay, if you're working with, let's say, 35, you're going to give 3 times 3 is 9, so you're going to give like 10 or 11 inch allowance. Okay, so continue with yours, and I'm going to meet you after I'm done with the 28 inches, and you're going to meet at that point. I'm done working on the amount of rows that I needed. So I made 100 rows in total. So let's go ahead and measure this before we continue. So let us take the measurements. You see, it measures 27 inches. Okay, so I made up to 27 inches because I realized that if it goes up to 28, it's going to be a little bit big. Okay, so you can minus 1 from what we had talked about, and then you're going to continue. So remember, I was working with a 40 inch measurements, so let us stretch our work and see if it fits. Yes, it fits the 40-inch that you are looking for. Now let's go to the next step. So the next step, you're going to join this end and this other end, the end where we have our chains, the foundation chains. Okay, so don't cut your yarn. You're just going to go right ahead and start joining. So I'm going to chain one and turn, but now I'm turning while holding the two together, okay, to form a skirt. And now you're going to join using slip stitches and chains only. Okay, so insert your hook into the first loop on this other side and also on the other side to join the two together. Make a slip stitch, so pull up a loop and you're going to pull all through that way. Now you're going to chain one and go to the next loop, which is this one. Insert your hook and the next one on the other side, which is this. Make a slip stitch and chain one. Go to the next and the next on the other side. Make a slip stitch and chain one, and do not tighten your slip stitches and chains because you want it to be stretchy also. So go to the next and the next on the other side. You're going to slip stitch and chain one. Okay, so you're going to keep doing that until you get to the end. But if you want to make to leave a slit at the front, you're going to stop at some point. You're going to decide how long you're going to work, but for this one I'm going to close it up to the end. So I'm just going to continue with this until I get to the end. So continue with yours and you're going to meet at the end so that we start on our waistline. I just finished joining the two together, and this is the wrong side and this is the right side where we have a smooth finish. So now let's continue. You're not going to cut your yarn, you're just going to continue with it and you're going to start working on the waistline. Okay, so you're going to chain 3. I already have a chain 1 here because I slip stitched into this one, so I count that as a chain 1, then 2 and 3. Now you're going to insert your hook into the first row here and you're going to do 2 double crochets. So insert your hook and make 2 double crochets. Now you're going to skip the next row. So this is the first row, the second row. You're going to skip this, you're going to yarn over and go to the third row. You're going to work only on rows which have chain 4 stitches as the first stitch. Okay, chain 4 spaces here. So go to the third one and place 2 double crochets. Skip the next. You're going to skip the one which has a single crochet at the end. So go to the next one with your 2 double crochets. Skip the next and go to the next. So you're going to keep doing this all round and you're going to meet at this point. I'm almost at the end and I have this last one remaining, so you're going to place one here because this last space is pretty big, and if you leave it, it's going to show. Okay, and you don't want that, so you're going to place 2 double crochets there. That way. Now we're going to join it with a slip stitch into the first stitch that way, and this is how it looks like. Now you're going to go to the last row, so you're going to chain 2 and in each stitch you're going to place 1 double crochet. Okay, so place your 1 double crochet in each stitch all round, and I'm going to meet with you after I'm done with that. Then you're going to attach our elastic band and our lining. Okay, when you get to the end of the row, you're going to slip stitch to the first stitch here, chain 1 and cut. and we are done with using our hook. Now you're going to switch to the needle. So this is how it looks like. Now we're going to attach our elastic band first, so turn your work to the wrong side. I'm working with a waist measurement of 30, so I'm going to cut my elastic band that measures 23 inches. I'm going to minus 7 inches from 30, I get 23 inches. So if you're working with, let's say, 28 waist measurements, you're going to minus 6 or 7 inches from your elastic band. Okay, so let's measure this and see. I'm not going to stretch it, you just measure everything without stretching. You see, 23. So this extra allowance I gave it, you're going to use it to sew both ends together. Okay, so before we start, you're going to join the two ends together, then we join it. So I'm going to use the small needle to join my elastic band, both ends of this elastic band. After joining your elastic band, now we're going to attach it to our skirt. So before we start attaching it, you're going to use stitch markers to attach it first, just to help us when you're attaching it with our needle. So let us start. You're just going to start from any point, but make sure it is even. Okay, and you're going to attach it to this last row. So let us start. And also make sure your needle doesn't come out on this other side. Okay, just let it go in between the stitches like that. You can't see the needle. So now I'm going to continue. And also when attaching it, you're going to stretch it to match the elastic band. Don't just attach it when the elastic band is not stretched. So you're going to stick it to the table and you're going to work on it. You can see that I've stretched it. Okay, so you're going to keep attaching it that way all round, and you're going to meet when you're done, so that you can start attaching our lining. Okay, I just go to the end. This is where we started. Now you're going to weave in your end. Just weave it in randomly. And you're going to weave in this other end also. and I'm done attaching my elastic band. So you can see how stretchy it is. Make sure it stretches enough. Okay, now you're going to attach our lining, and remember we are working on the wrong side of our work. So I had already joined my lining to form a skirt, and this is the lower part of the lining. And also for the lining, make sure it stretches. Okay, now let's go ahead and join it. And you're going to attach using the stitch markers first before we attach it, using our needle. So we're going to attach it to the first row of the double crochets here. Okay, so let me attach it with my stitch markers, and you're going to meet after that. So this is how you're going to attach with the stitch markers first before we start. Just make sure everything aligns. Okay, now let us start. I'm just going to pick one point and start from there, and make sure you are stretching your work a little bit when attaching it. Okay, so I'm just going to elaborate for a little part, then you're going to continue by yourself. Okay, so and also when working on this part, you're not going to let your needle be visible on the right side of your work. Okay, you want your work to be as neat as possible, and do not stretch your yarn also, because you want it to be stretchy. This way. So you're just going to continue this way until you get to the other end. You get to this point where we started, and I'm going to meet you at that point. So you can see my work can stretch. Okay, now you're going to continue, and when you get to the end, you're going to weave in your loose end, and also weave in all the loose ends that are remaining on the wrong side of your work. Okay, so that is it, guys. So thank you so much for watching, and please go ahead and watch the matching top tutorial. It's a wrap top, and it's actually very good together. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you on my next video.